It's time for another episode of my retro journey, and this time I'm taking you through my collection of Nintendo DS games. Alright everyone, hope you are doing well. Thank you for pressing play once again. I'm the man they call Pixel Paul, and I'm back on my retro journey, episode 11 of this series. If you've not watched any of my other videos in this series, and there's another 10 of them, basically all I've done with these videos is take you through a look through all the games that I've got for each of my retro consoles. So I started with the Game Boy, all the way through NES, SNES, Mega Drive, all the way through to, which was my last video, I think it was the PSP. Now, I possibly am stretching the boundaries here of what retro is. Everybody has a different opinion about what retro is and what constitutes a retro console. I thought the PSP was retro. I still think the PSP is probably just about retro. And I thought maybe that would be it for this series, really. But then it got me thinking, well, if the PSP is retro, then probably the Nintendo DS is as well. So I'm going for another episode of it. I'm going to take you through the DS collection that I've got. And first of all, let's talk about the Nintendo DS itself. The Nintendo DS came out in, what, I want to say about 2005 in Europe and the UK. I think it's 2005, which makes it around 20 years old, possibly just about sort of like maybe 19 years old, I think, but I'm sure we'll be coming up to its sort of 20th anniversary very soon. So yeah, it probably does mean it is a retro console. But again, I'm not going to get into that whether it is or not. For me, and for this series, yeah, it's going to be a retro console. And the DS. So I got a DS, the original big chunky silver Nintendo DS, on day one. I remember getting it from GameStation. I was at work, but I used some flexi to go to GameStation in Manchester to pick up my pre-ordered Nintendo DS. I took it back into work, and I'm not going to lie, I did play it for a little bit, kind of sneakily under the desk. And I just remember gathering, quite a few people started to gather around to watch and have a look at the DS. And there was a lot of sort of buzz about it, and a lot of people were sort of interested in it. And obviously the DS went on to be a huge success. It was such a sort of departure for Nintendo as well, an important console for Nintendo. They'd relied on the Game Boy and the Game Boy name for so many years, from when it released in sort of 89, 88. Obviously then we had the GB Advance, the GB Advance SP, there was the Micro Game Boy. There was so many different versions of that, and they milked the Game Boy to death. But then 2005 came, they went for a completely new handheld, and what we got was the Nintendo DS. Now I got my original one, like I say, from GameStation in Manchester on day one. I got it with the Metroid Prime Hunters demo, and it was a console that didn't necessarily sort of grab me. I didn't build a huge collection of games for it, particularly back then. Certainly the games that I've got now is probably, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times the size of any sort of previous collection of Nintendo DS games. It was always a bit of a side console for me. I was never particularly massively into it. And I think in the end I sold the DS off. I can't remember what I did with it or how I traded it in or what I got for it. But yeah, it was one of those consoles I was just not that bothered about. That being said, when my when my daughter was born, a few years later, she was about 4 or 5, probably looking about 2012, something like that then. And she was starting to sort of get into games a little bit, and we thought, well, we'll buy her a Nintendo DS. Just get one cheap, because by then, we'd moved on so many sort of different models of DS, and yeah, so she had a DS, and this is the one that we got her, and it is a DSi, and this is still the one that we got for her. She doesn't want it anymore, so I use this now, and yeah, I think this is the original chunky DS was quite. It looks quite good. It looks quite sort of retro and funky, but it was always quite sort of big, quite chunky, quite heavy, and the DS Lite was probably, for my money, probably the best version of the console. So that's the one that I use, and that's the one that I've been using sort of more recently. And like I say, I've started to build a bit of a collection now of DS games, just because, well, partly because they're so cheap to collect for. They're quite easy to pick up. there's not too many sort of what I'd sort of class as maybe rare titles for the DS either. There's a fair few sort of expensive ones, but there's a huge amount of that back catalogue of games for it that are really quite sort of cheap and affordable and worth picking up as well. So I've been sort of doing that over the last... I've always been sort of collecting a little bit for it since I restarted collecting this collection, but I'd say over the last year probably is when I really started to pick up DS games. I've started to really look into what was available on it, and starting to sort of really enjoy it. And I'd say in the last 4 or 5 months especially, along with the PSP, I've started to really quite get back into handheld gaming. So my DS collection is starting to grow a little bit more because I'm just using the console that a little bit more as well. And like I say, the PSP is the same. So I am quite enjoying playing it and using it and collecting for it. So the games that I've got for it, let's get on to my collection of DS games. Is everyone talking of handheld consoles? Classic. Right, so as I always do with these My Retro Journey videos, I usually start with the game that I bought with my console and end on my favourite game for the console. Now, I haven't got the Metroid Prime demo anymore. I don't have that game. But I honestly can't remember 100% what my first Nintendo DS game was. Full game. I have a feeling it might have been WarioWare Touched, I think. And I haven't got that. It's probably the only game for a console that I haven't got that I bought with the console originally, if that makes sense. Every other console that I've got, the first game that I got for it, I've always kept it. But I haven't got WarioWare Touched, and I'm pretty sure it is that. But I remember that being alright. It's not a bad game, that one. So what I've done is I've gone for Metroid Prime Hunters as being the first game. And this was just a recent pickup for me. I had it in my original sort of collection and played it a little bit. But it's only recently that I've picked this back up, and I have been playing it again and really enjoying it. It's a really good game actually, Prime Hunters. It takes a little bit of getting used to with the controls because obviously it's like a first person shooter kind of perspective. Metroid isn't a first person shooter though, don't forget that kids. And it is just a little bit clunky and a little bit fiddly with the sort of left trigger being, left shoulder button sorry, being your sort of firing button and having to aim with the touch screen, so it's a little bit fiddly. But once you get around it, Metroid Prime Hunters, I like that. It's pretty good, and I think I mentioned this on the video when I picked this up. This game is kind of sort of semi-linked to Prime 4 as well, so I'm wondering if soon this might become a little bit sought after. So if you've been thinking about getting it, now might be the time. Anyway, so I'm going to say that is the first game, even though I think it was WarioWare Touched, but I haven't got that anymore. Right, so the rest of the collection, and it's not massive, it's not a huge collection, but it's decent enough. There's no particular order to this, so we'll just go straight through. We'll start at the obvious place though, possibly. Mario Kart DS. For my money, one of the best Mario Kart games. I really love this version. I just think it has that sort of classic mix of SNES and that 3D N64 GameCube type look to it and feel to it. And I always think Mario Kart works really well on the handhelds. I loved Super Circuit as well. I thought that was really good. So yeah, Mario Kart DS. It's a bit of an essential for the DS collector, isn't it, really? So that's a good one. Now, just fair warning, some of these games I haven't played. I must admit, some of these games I've either sort of dabbled in a little bit, or I just haven't touched or hadn't had time to play or look at. So there's one or two of these where, my DS knowledge is not the best, but there's one or two where I genuinely don't have a huge amount of knowledge at all about them, including this one, Spectrobes. So this was a cheap charity shop pickup, I think this was. I'm sure it was a charity shop pickup, like £1 or £2. So I don't really know much about this one. I know that you had to use, is it like augmented reality cards or something like that with it, and I don't think they are in this copy. So what of it I could play, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. It was only a cheap one, Spectrobes. Next up, we've got Biker Mice from Mars. Now, this is a weird game. It's to be honest, it's probably a bit of a terrible game. But when I played it, it kind of drew me in a little bit. There's It's kind of a 2D platformer, fighter kind of brawler game, and also there are biker sections in it as well, and neither of them are done particularly well, which is a shame really, because it's a great license, but it just doesn't quite work for the Nintendo DS. But yeah, Biker Mice from Mars. Then we've got Nintendo Touch Golf. Again, this is a really sort of cheapy game, but again, it kind of really works pretty well with the touchscreen as well. So yeah, Nintendo Touch Golf Birdie Challenge. Now, the Nintendo DS has its fair share of shovelware. We all know that. The Wii did. Well, the Wii, it was practically a library of shovelware with some gems hidden in there. But the DS also sort of suffered from, I don't know whether it was like just the phase at the time and that era, but there's loads of shovelware. And a lot of it, I think, can be attributed to this game, because this kind of sparked almost like a epidemic of shovelware, kind of cheap, knock 'em out kind of games. And I think most people who have a Nintendo DS will have this game. It's not Nintendogs, I haven't got that one, but it is Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training. It's a charity shop favourite, it's usually dirt cheap, and in all honesty, I probably picked this up with the intention of just being like for a spare box. But yeah, there you go. I mean, to be fair, it does what it does. It does it pretty well. It is quite fun. Does it train your brain? I'm not convinced. It's never trained my brain. So yeah, Brain Training. The king of the shovelware. Speaking of shovelware, there's a few coming up actually. We've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade Attack. This is a really disappointing game. Turtles games, you know, do usually hold quite a high value. This is quite a cheap one, and it's quite a cheap one for a reason, because it's not very good, sadly. So yeah, if you see that, don't be tempted, unless it's really, really cheap. Right, next up we've got Prince of Persia Battles. Now I've got a lot of the Prince of Persia games, and I think possibly I got this one just to sort of complete the set of Prince of Persia games. Or sort of the modern Prince of Persian games, should I say. This one is, I think it's a bit more sort of like a strategy type game. With, I think there are kind of combat elements to it. I haven't played this one, I'll be honest. But I think it is a bit more of a sort of strategy game. But yeah, Prince of Persia Battles. Right, now this is a decent game. This is one that I want to play, and I think I'm going to take this on holiday with me this year actually to play it, because I think it demands a little bit of time as well. Children of Mana. I got that from a car boot sale last year? Or was it this year? No, it was last year. Last year. Children of Mana on the DS. It looks amazing. I love the front cover on that. Great cover art, as you would expect from a Mana game. So yeah, that's one I'm going to play, hopefully. Good JRPG, that one. Next up, this one I got while I was on holiday in Scarborough last year. It was in like a really sort of box full of shovelware, but it kind of stood out, and I'm glad I picked it up, because I think, I can't remember, I think the guy in the shop actually gave me, I think I bought something quite sort of high value. I think I bought Donkey Kong 64, and I can't remember the name of the shop now. I bought Donkey Kong 64, and I saw this box, and I went to buy this game, and he said, oh, you can have that just as part of the Donkey Kong, which I thought was really kind. And then when I took it home and had a look at it, it's actually sort of got a decent value to it as well. Anyway, the game is Inazuma 11, and I have played this a little bit. It's basically a bit of a sort of kids football management game in a way. It's quite a big series as well, Inazuma 11. I think there's an anime of it as well. I could be wrong there, but I think there's an anime of this as well. But yeah, it's got a really nice foil effect cover as well, which actually shows up really nicely on the camera there. So yeah, that was a real sort of decent pickup, that one. Really pleased to get that one. Right, next up, and again, like I was saying, the Nintendo DS catalogue is full of shovelware. It's also full of overambitious ports of games. So obviously, back in that sort of around that time, if a game came out on the console, if it came out on the Wii especially, they would always try to do like a DS version of it as well. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes the DS games were better than some of the console versions in some ways. But a lot of the time, it's a nice try, but you didn't quite pull it off. And that's the case with this one. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. It's never a DS game. It's never a handheld game. It's very clunky. It's very hard to play. Fair play to them. They tried, but yeah, not quite there. Right. So next up, and this is the first of it's four games from this series that I've got. I've got the 4 games for the DS. I've got the 3DS version as well, or one of the 3DS versions. This is the first one. Yep, this is the first one. And I absolutely adore this. It's one of my favourite Nintendo DS games. Professor Layton and the Curious Village. If you've never played Professor Layton, it's basically a series of mini games set around a kind of mystery story. That's the best way to explain it. I wouldn't want to sort of tell you any more about the plot or anything, other than, you know, the puzzles are quite well. The puzzles are good, and the puzzles do tax your brain a little bit. Especially as you get later into the game. If you've never played a Professor Layton game, I would say this is the one to start with. You've got to give it a go because it's really good. And I think this one's quite sort of cheap as well. Some of the other Layton games, which we'll come to, are a bit more expensive, but this is usually pretty cheap. But I think this is one of the games you have to have for a Nintendo DS. Love that one. Right, next up, and this is the curious one. This was a launch title for the DS. Project Rub. Again, it's a series of mini games. It's not what you think it is. It's not, you dirty minds. It's just a very weird, quirky. It's like a dating sim type puzzle game. It's a very hard game to describe, made by Sega. It didn't sell particularly well as a launch title. It's a very weird one to do as a launch title, but I guess it was more of a showcase for what the Nintendo DS and the touchscreen could do, and having 2 screens. So I suppose it did its job. It didn't sell particularly well though, but it is actually quite good fun. Project Rub. Next up. Now, I was saying about games which were put on consoles and don't necessarily always translate well to handheld consoles. I think this one is as good, if not slightly better, than the console version. And I absolutely love this one. Batman, the Brave and the Bold, the video game. This is just such a slept-on game. The Wii version is really, really good as well, but I think just the Nintendo DS version, it's possibly just a little bit more easier to play in a way. I'm not a huge fan of the Wiimotes ever, but playing it with the DS touchscreen, and yeah, I just think this is such a cracking game. It's basically a 2D platformer, but amazing graphics on it, amazing visuals, all based on the look of the cartoon show as well. But yeah, I think it's a really good game, that one, Batman the Brave and the Bold. Okay, I won't talk about these next 2, possibly 3, too much because I spoke about them on my last pickups video. This one is EA Sports Football Academy. Again, it's mini games of a football nature this time, or soccer if you're watching in America. Yeah, it's a lot of sort of mini games, quizzes, that sort of thing. I have played it a little bit. It's all right. I also have Bust-A-Move DS. Probably don't need to say too much about that. Again, works really well on a handheld console. I've also got Iron Man, the video game. This wasn't great on the home console game versions. This one's not great either, sadly. And I do have as well Tomb Raider Underworld. And this one does work pretty well. It's not as good as the console versions, but I quite like Tomb Raider Underworld on the DS. They did a decent job, just made it slightly different from the console games. It's more of a platform type game. But yeah, it's quite a good one, that one. I like that one. Right, moving on. Again, I think this was a launch title as well, and I would go as far to say this possibly might be the most played game in the Pixel household on the Nintendo DS. Partly because Mrs. Pixel absolutely loves this game. She's not a big gamer or anything like this, but give her this game and she will sit there and play it for hours. Zookeeper. And understandably, it's very addictive. It's a very addictive puzzle game, this. Very easy to play. It has really annoying but catchy music to it. Very simple visuals. And yeah, I do quite like it as well, to be honest. Zookeeper. So yeah, I think it's quite cheap, that. So if you need a game for the DS that you just think you'll just lose hours to, that's a good one to try. Next up we have G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. I have actually played this one, haven't I? And it was okay. It's a bit of a top-down shooter type game. I remember playing it and thinking, actually, this is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was okay. I know that there is a console version of this. I know is it PS2 or is it on something newer? It might be actually PS3 and Xbox 360, to be honest. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, it's actually not as bad as you expect it to be. It's all right, actually, based on a pretty wretched film. I love G.I. Joe. I was a big G.I. Joe kid. I was so disappointed with that movie, both of the movies, to be honest. Next up, we've got Secret Files 2, Puritas Cordis. That's there's 2 Secret Files games. Have I got both of them? I'm not sure. I might have the other one as well, actually. Was that No, I can't remember. I might have it. I think the first game was Tunguska Secret Files or something like that, maybe. I've not played this one, but would like to at some point. I think I've got that on the Wii as well. Next up, some good old-fashioned button bashing by Konami. New International Track and Field. This is just track and field, to be honest. It's same sort of thing, just button bashing. It's not too bad. Absolute classic gem of a game. Again, I would put this down as being a must-have for the console. Geometry Wars Galaxies. Great on the 360. Love Geometry Wars and Geometry Wars 2 on the 360. Galaxies on the Wii is pretty good as well, and this is pretty much just more of the same. And again, I think this probably is a little bit easier to play on the DS than it is on the Wii. So yeah, if you've never played a Geometry Wars game, give this one a go, because it's pretty good. Alright, move on before a quick break. This one, again, I picked this one up recently. I spoke my piece about this one. I was a bit disappointed with it. Arkanoid DS. This is a game which should really translate well onto a handheld console. It kind of does, but it is ruined a little bit by the transition of the ball between the 2 screens. So there is a horrible kind of delay or gap when the ball is moving between the 2 screens. When it goes in a straight line, it's not too bad, but when it goes at an angle, it just almost makes it I don't want to say unplayable, but it just makes it a lot more tricky, which is a bit of a shame, really. I do love Arkanoid. I love those kind of breakout games and Alleyway. This one just didn't quite do it for me, sadly. We're about halfway through, and yeah, I think already you can see it's just quite a mix of games, really. Quite a there's a lot of puzzle games. There's a lot of that's why the DS is quite good. I think it's quite sort of versatile. There's a lot of different genres of games on it. So yeah, let's crack on anyway. And so we've got also Nintendo Tetris DS. That's for some reason really hard to say. Tetris DS. Yeah, this isn't a bad version of it either. Do like that one. I got the Simpsons game. I haven't played this one. I do quite like the Simpsons game, actually. It's not. It's better than it should be in a way, but I've not played this version yet. Yeah, the Simpsons game. Right, another in this fantastic series. This is Professor Layton and Pandora's Box. I think this is the one. No, it's not the one. I have played this one. This is just as good as the others. I can't remember the storyline particularly I can sort of remember the storyline to Curious Village, but I don't remember the storyline to this one particularly, but it's more of the same with a different story. Then we've got Broken Sword. I haven't played this one yet. I've never played a Broken Sword game. When I got this from the car boot sale, it was really grotty. It was rescued from somebody's shed. It was really sort of manky. This is the one, if you've not seen that video, where the precautionary booklet in the box is rock solid. Anyway, but yeah, I managed to clean the box up in the car and it looks in pretty decent condition now. But yeah, I've never played that one. Alright, so now we've got the two other games from Professor Layton. So we've got The Lost Future, and we've also got Spectre's Call. Now this one I haven't played. I only got this one. I think I got this last year, but I've just never got around to playing it. Partly because I was playing the 3DS first game as well, so I just sort of have missed this one a little bit. But possibly another one for me to maybe take on holiday with me or something like that. Right, we've also now got Assassin's Creed. This is Altair's Chronicles. I think there was 2 Assassin's Creed games. No, was there 3? Was no, there was 2. There was Assassin's Creed 2, Ezio's something adventure or something like that, or Chronicles. I can't remember. No, this is Chronicles. I can't remember, but I'm sure there's 2 Assassin's Creed games on the DS. For me, it didn't quite work. I'm not a big fan of the first Assassin's Creed game anyway. But it was pretty cheap, this, I remember. So, yeah, it's just a very sort of, that kind of game is just not easy to put onto a handheld. I know the PSP version, Bloodlines, was not done particularly brilliantly, so I can't imagine the DS version is that much better. I have tried it. I remember trying it, but very briefly, which maybe says everything. Another recent pickup, Bangai-O Spirits. Again, yeah, like I say, this is a recent pickup. I'd totally forgotten about this game. I did have this in my original collection. It's a bullet hell shooter, tough as nails. I've been trying to play it and not getting very far. This is probably why I had it and then didn't have it in my original collection. But it's nice to have it back in there now. Love the cover on that. And then we've got GTA Chinatown Wars. A lot of people really like this game. I think it has a bit of a mixed opinion on this. I think a lot of people quite like this and a lot of people don't like it. So it's one of those in the middle games. I'm not sure what's not to like about it. I played it a little bit. I'm not the world's biggest GTA fan, but I have played this one a little bit and it seemed alright, to be fair. I thought they did a reasonable sort of job on it. So yeah, GTA Chinatown Wars. Now, speaking of GTA, this next game I think is a bit of a GTA clone, but you play it from, I don't want to say good guy's side, but you play it from the right side of the law, if you like. Cop the Recruit. And this is very much like a GTA game. It's very sort of open world, old school GTA, top down kind of view to it. And it's alright actually. Somebody recommended this to me on Instagram absolutely ages ago, and it's another one of those where somebody recommends a game and then you just find it, you just sort of notice it, and that was the same with this game. But yeah, by Ubisoft. But it's actually not bad. I haven't finished this one, but I did play it for quite a bit and just never got to the end. But yeah, you basically play like an undercover cop, and it's alright. Bit of a hidden gem, that one. Right, okay. Oh, there's the other Secret Files game. I was right, Tunguska. It's kind of a point and click adventure, that, but not bad. This one I haven't played. Again, I think this is a bit sort of point and click, puzzly sort of type game. The original Diabolic Sin. I think that's based on, is it like a French comic book or graphic novel? I'm not sure, but yeah, I've never played that one. I picked it up really cheap ages ago, and it's just one of those that just gets further and further to the back of the shelves. But yeah, will I ever play that one? Not convinced. You never know though. Now this one I have tried. King Kong, or Peter Jackson's King Kong, based on the movie. On the consoles, this is an absolute gem of a game. It's brilliant. The Xbox 360 game especially is amazing. The Nintendo DS version of it is not so great. It's horrible actually. It's just I don't want to say unplayable, but it's a chore to play. The only thing that I remember really from this game though is the fact that some of the music in it is taken from the original Predator film. How that happened I don't know, but yeah, the original Predator film sort of score, you know, that classic kind of music that sort of happens when the Predator, especially towards the end of the film, Predator sort of battling with Arnie. Alan Silvestri. I think it's Alan Silvestri did the score for Predator, but for some reason, some of the score for Predator is in this game, and that's why I think I persevered with it for a little bit. But it's not the best version of Kong. And then next, this one is Prince of Persia: The Fallen King. Now this is a quirky little one, really sort of different art style to it. It's more similar to the sort of last Prince of Persia game. I can't remember what year it came out, but it's sort of more based around that one, I think. It's a 2D platformer, and it's really tricky. It's really tricky. You have to do all the movements using the stylus and the touchscreen, and it's it's too hard. It's a bit hard. It's just not easy to get to grips with, which is a shame because it actually looks quite nice. You don't really get much of an idea from the back of the cover, but yeah, it's a shame really. It definitely has something, this game, but it's just the controls are just so awkward to use. Right, we are coming towards the end of the piles. We've next got Super Scribble Notes. That's quite a fun little game, quite clever in a way. Draw stuff, it appears on screen. Really well suited really for the DS. But yeah, it's not a bad little game, that one. I do of course have Tomb Raider Legend, one of my favourite games of all time. I've got this on every single console it came out for, so I have to have it on the Nintendo DS. But like Underworld, it's a perfectly passable sort of 2D-ish kind of platformer. There's sort of 3D elements to it a little bit, not so much like the PSP version. It's a kind of watered down 3D effect. It's a 2D platformer, and it's an alright one, to be honest, like that. Next is Star Fox Command. So this is a bit of a strange one. It's kind of, there's a strategical element to this game in comparison to some of the other Star Fox games. It's not the best version of Star Fox, I don't think. It's not my favourite version of Star Fox. It's okay, but yeah, I remember when this first came out. I remember getting this on day one actually when it came out back in the day, and just being a little bit disappointed with it. I've sort of played it since, and it's okay, but it's not the Star Fox that I kind of want to play. I just love the original SNES Star Fox, excuse me, and obviously Star Fox 64 as well. So this is just a little bit too different for me. Right, we've got the last few. Have I saved the last to the best? The best to the last I have. Soul Bubbles. So again, I had this in my original collection. I think this is a little hidden gem, this one. It's kind of it's not a platform game. It's a bit of a sort of, I'm trying to remember what I likened it to. It's got an element of Loco Roco to it, almost. Basically, you play that little imp there and you capture sprites in bubbles and have to direct them around little mazes with lots of traps and things like that you've got to avoid in enemies. It sounds pretty basic, and it is, but it's a gorgeous looking game for the DS. Again, you can't really get a good idea from that, but it's worth a look. It really is worth a look. It's a good game, that one, Soul Bubbles. And as you can see there, 93%. Oh, given by Nintendo themselves. Biased. Anyway, so last three. Ridge Racer DS. Not the world's greatest Ridge Racer game, but also not the worst. I think this is okay. It's passable. Somebody mentioned to me about this. Is this the one that is the same as Ridge Racer 64? I can't remember. Somebody will write me on that. But yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's not too bad. It's just the controls for it are a bit overly sensitive, and some of the collision detection with the scenery can be a little bit inconsistent, I found. But as a racer, it's not too bad. I don't have too many racing games on the DS actually. I've just noticed that when going through all of these. Racing games is the one thing I don't have that many of. I think that's literally the only one. Odd. Next up is Sonic Rush. Again, this was quite a sort of early-ish DS game, I want to say. And it isn't the first Sonic game on a Nintendo console, as I think I said in one of my videos once. That was Sonic Advance, that was the first one. But this was the first Sonic game for the DS. And it's okay. it's not too bad. Again, I think there's a bit like the Arkanoid game. There's a bit of a delay sometimes between moving from each of the screens, which doesn't help things and sort of makes it a little bit jarring at times. But it's got a nice little soundtrack to it, and it does look quite nice. It's just that sort of element of moving from screen to screen that kind of spoils it a little bit. But yeah, not bad. Sonic Rush. So that is pretty much it. That is my Nintendo DS collection. I do actually have a cartridge-only version of Resident Evil Deadly Silence as well. I didn't sell it. I still have that somewhere, and that's not a bad game. It's basically a port of the original Resident Evil game, and it's pretty good actually. It translates quite well to the DS. I got that for free, I think. It's like a charity fair or something like that. They just found it and said, "Oh, we know you like games. You might as well have that." But I have got that still. I was thinking of trading it in, but I've kept it. Anyway, the last game that I want to go through, and I absolutely love this game. It is easily my favourite Nintendo DS game. So I had to save it to the end. Aliens Infestation. Love this game. I'm as many of you will know, I love the film Aliens. I love Alien, but Aliens especially is my favourite movie of all time. Absolutely adore it. I do in general quite like Aliens games, even the bad ones. So Colonial Marines, Aliens vs Predator, which have mixed reviews. I do quite like them still. I like Colonial Marines, I must admit. But for my money, this is right up there with like Alien 3 on the SNES and Alien Isolation. I think this is an absolute gem of a game. And I know when I got this, I think this was my first ever CEX online purchase. And I did a video quite early on in my sort of channel's life. This was like a bit of an unboxing. So I've had it for a fair while now, but the value for this, sort of went up quite a lot. So I had to wait a while to sort of be able to re-pick this up and get it again. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it wasn't cheap, and I still don't think it's cheap. I'll find out how much it is and put it on the screen. But if you can get it, it's worth it. It's really, really good. It's basically a 2D Metroidvania type game where you play as Marines. But you have like a squad of Marines as well that you find around the map, sort of the whole game sort of takes place partly on the Sulaco and also on LV-426, and you sort of find Marines as you go along. If the Marine that you're playing as dies in the game, that is it, they're gone, and you have to then select another Marine. If you go through all the Marines, that's game over, man, game over. So it's just, it's quite a clever game. It has all the sounds, all the looks of all the films, and I just love it. Game over, man. That is it. That is a look through my entire collection of DS games. Not the biggest part of my collection, not the smallest part of my collection, but it's certainly starting to grow a bit. And like I said, it's such a easy console to collect for. Again, it's getting cheap. The games are quite cheap. Let's hope they stay that way. They might not do. I'm wondering if sort of the handheld things are starting to come back into fashion a little bit, and people are starting to gravitate towards them. Not sure, but the DS, it's a mixed bunch. It really is. A bit like the Wii. There's a lot of rubbish, but there are some really, really decent games in there as well, which I think makes it worth collecting for personally. There's quite a few games that I haven't played, that I haven't had, that I would like to get. I know some of the Bond games are pretty good. I know SNEStastic has spoken about some of the Bond games on the DS, so I'd like to give them a look. But yeah, there's one or two other games out there. Obviously, I haven't got any Zelda games. I think I did play Spirit Tracks and had that at one point, but obviously sold it. But yeah, I wouldn't mind possibly getting that again. So yeah, and strangely enough, I've never had Mario 64 DS either, just because it didn't have great reviews when it first came out, and obviously I've got Mario 64 on the N64, so I never had that either, but I wouldn't mind possibly playing that. But there's some really sort of, there are some expensive games for it too, so it's one of those where it quite makes it good to sort of just keep an eye out for, see what prices you can get them for. And you know, quite often you see them at car boot sales and charity shops as well. So I quite like searching for DS games. It's quite a relaxed search for them because I'm not desperate to play games for it, but at the same time, you know, if I see a bargain, I will pick it up. So anyway, that was the last episode of my retro journey. I'm pretty sure that's the last episode, unless I pick up another retro console at some point, but that is not going to be for a while yet, I don't think. The only one I've not really had or done particularly was maybe two, the Master System and the Dreamcast, but we don't talk about the Dreamcast because it's a sore subject for me. But yeah, that is pretty much it, I think, for retro consoles. Unless the Nintendo Wii is classed as a retro console. And if it is, I think I'll probably do that as a different kind of series. Maybe showing you some of the later consoles and the collections that I've got. We'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you get your comments about, you know, the collection, games you've played, games you think I should have, hidden gems for the DS as well, any memories you've got of when you got your first Nintendo DS as well, would love to hear them. I'll always try to reply. I'll end on the note of ping, and thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.